Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore Positive. We're taking the show on the road next week, doing a cup of soup or bowl, charity, community. If you got some stories, throw me an email. Monday, we start the party down at Fade Leaks. Tuesday, we will be at El Guapo in Catonsville. Wednesday, we move back into the city over on the Morgan side of town at Coco's on Wednesday. Thursday, we'll be at Pizza John's in Essex. And Friday, back uptown. I'm wearing my Costas gear here for my Coppin State piece because next Friday we'll be giving away candy cane cash all week long for the Maryland Lottery. Our friends at GBMC keeping me healthy, put me out on the road for the crab cake tour. But next week, all charities, all communities, all great stories, good people. I'm looking to meet some new people. And if you have that, throw me a note, ness@baltimorepositive.com. I'm about to meet a new person, and my friends over Coppin and Dr. Jenkins and everybody over there made me feel real comfortable 2 weeks ago when I went over there for the South Carolina game. It's always good to be over in West Baltimore, especially before the storm. Now they're pushing the snow over there into the Mandalman parking lot. We are welcoming on for the very first time, and this is going to be great because I am an entrepreneur at heart. I'm a business owner at heart, even though I sound like a sports guy with long hair. She's the director for the Center for Strategic Entrepreneurship. Dr. Tamirra Lucas joins us here. She is a Baltimorean, so, this snow thing and pushing this around, we're not used to this here, but at least we got it done this time, right? Class is open, right?
Class is open and school has started today.
All right. Well, the entrepreneurial side of this is that I grew up a kid from Dundalk. My dad was a steel worker, and in my home, we never talked about owning a business or what it was like. Even when we spent money, we didn't think, oh, that's a nice business owner in Highlandtown who goes home to his family. It's a small local business. Now, I've owned a small local business for 34 years here, give or take. And my entrepreneurial ship goes through the moon when things like AI happen or like when social media happened to know about marketing and all of that. But as a young person, if I would have walked onto your campus the way I walked onto UB or Dundalk Community College in 1986, I didn't even know there was such a thing you could study like owning a business. And in the modern era, how far this has come for people like yourself who educate young people and bring them onto campus and say, you can do it. You can own your own business. That really is the American dream, right?
Yep. Yep. So similar to you, Ness, I actually grew up in West Baltimore as well, right around the corner from Coppin. And entrepreneurship was definitely not something that was glorified or talked about in my community as well. I honestly did not even know the term entrepreneur probably until my college days, because the way I grew up, it was considered hustling, right? My uncle owned a business my entire life, but I never looked at him as an entrepreneur or a small business owner because the terminology that we would use would be a hustler. And so I'm excited to be in a position where we not only can educate our students around entrepreneurship, but we also can educate the community around us. And, we're uniquely positioned in West Baltimore, right off of North Avenue. So we are a public university, so anyone can technically walk in on campus and somehow get the services that we are providing. So I'm excited to be in a position where I can take individuals like you and I that may not think entrepreneurship is something that they can obtain or start or grow or become, and really provide them with that dream. Because you are right, like, we grew up not thinking about small businesses and how it impacts our economy. And I am an entrepreneur also. When you said Coco's, I got excited because my co-working space that I own is up the street from Coco's.
Where you're in Lauraville. Where are you?
Yeah, so I own the Cube Co-work, which is that big gray building right before you get to Zeke's Coffee. And we provide babysitting services with inside of our co-working space.
So I have done the show at Zeke's, and I want to give a shout out to Thomas over there who had some plumbing issues, and then the snowstorm. Go buy some pastries. Go in there, get an omelet. Go in there, get a cup. Take a pound or two home with you as
Yes.
well. And I'll be over Coco's next week and doing the show there as well. When I think of those small businesses there, up the street, what used to be the Chameleon Cafe and now Maggie's Kitchen, and just all of the small businesses along Bel Air Road, along Harford Road, as a kid growing up, you can see it in Hamilton, you see it through the city. You're making me think now, and I've been doing this a long time. I try not to think too much about anything other than the Ravens here in spring training, but I don't know the first person I even knew as a kid who owned a business. Maybe Mr. Zanino, who had a the little, the 7-Eleven of my neighborhood, the Royal Farms of my neighborhood, the little superette was a family-owned Italian business. But I literally, and I don't know, did I ever talk to Mr. Larry, Mr. Frank about, hey, what's it like when I give you a quarter for the candy bar and you buy boxes of it and and pay taxes and pay employees and deal with all of that. I don't even know where the first time I ever had a conversation with anybody about, hey, what's it like to own your own business? Could I do that? Because where I grew up, it was about going to college and get a job,
Mhm.
job.
Yeah, and that's so funny that you even said that because when I think about growing up here in West Baltimore, community entrepreneurs were around me every single day. In fact, my grandmother lived on Gilmore Street, and there was a candy truck that was parked directly across from her house, and a neighbor that lived in that community owned the truck. And I actually used to work on the truck so I can get like free candy. But then he grew out of the truck into a store on Pennsylvania Avenue. You know, back in the the 90s, early 2000s, Pennsylvania Avenue was a true community business district that was thriving. And so,
You can see where the banks were. You can
yep,
you can see who was a jeweler. You can just look at the buildings on
yep,
the outside and see the character, which makes, I mean, every time I drive through Baltimore, I say to my wife, I'm like, man, our city's so cool.
it
It really
is.
is in that
It
way.
is. And I wish that we just embraced it a little bit more and like really taught our younger generation that that was entrepreneurship and that was something that is feasible, which now I get to do in my role as a professor and also as the director of the center.
Do you tell them you were once a hustler on a candy
I
truck?
do. I do. I do. I share, and they can't believe it. They actually can't believe that I grew up around the corner, but I'm like, no, I really did grow up
I
around.
delivered the Dundalk Eagle for 10 cents to my neighbors to make $4 so I could go ice skating or roller skating and meet girls. You know what I mean? That's when I was 12. That was the hustle in my neighborhood. Oh, there was no, let's talk about the original hustle. When it
Frozen cups.
snowed, you
Oh,
shoveled.
show.
That's the original hustle, right? I mean, when I think about the only money I made when I was 8 years old, Miss Treva would need her snow shoveled, and we'd get $5, and we'd all go to Mr. Zanino and give it to him. And that's the American dream. You make a few bucks, you spend a few bucks. I
Yeah.
I, I can come teach your class, Doc. I think, right?
You absolutely can because what you have is lived experience and you had the entrepreneurial mindset. And being an entrepreneur all starts with the mindset because all of those formal things of like formalizing your business and scaling your business, honestly, there are techniques to it, but it's all trial and error, right? So you have to try something to see if it's going to work, if it's going to stick, and move forward with it. So your original hustle was shoveling snow. I certainly wasn't shoveling snow, but I would sell frozen cups. And so if you're not from Baltimore, frozen cups is a thing that we used to sell, like people would sell out of their homes. And I definitely sold frozen cups at some point in my childhood.
Well, my grandmother made pizza in the basement before I was alive in my old neighborhood, and people would tell me that she had a hustle. She sold pizzas at night in the neighborhood. She's, had the old country, and she'd make 15, 20 pies a night for the neighbors and put a little money in her pocket back in the 50s. So
Yep.
Dr. Tamirra Lucas is here. She's at Coppin State, but more than that, tell me about students that come to you. You're a professor there. Where's the entry point? And I think younger people, just given the amount of knowledge and the amount of internet that, I mean, I'm old. I'm Dewey Decimal System, card catalog, go down Enoch Pratt or over to the library, get the
Me too.
microfiche out, all of that, right? Now it's just AI, Google it. I think younger people come at this from a different way of maybe understanding business a little better than this mixed Hispanic kid did in a steelworker house in Dundalk 50 years ago. I think it comes at you more with money on your phone and Venmo and how, and everybody wants to make a little bit of money and say, how is that? Job market's not that great, right? Like we would get a job at the fast food joint down the street or whatever, get that first job, $3.35 an hour, as I remember it. Back in the 80s, I don't know that those jobs are there. Some of those businesses aren't there. And I think there's a whole world of you use the word hustle, that you can hustle in all sorts of ways on the internet, buying and selling things in a creative way that maybe people come to you a little bit more equipped than I would have at Dundalk Community College 40 years ago.
Yeah, they absolutely do come a little more equipped than you and I would have ever came equipped because they have the internet at their fingertips, and where they're coming in at is really either skill, passion, or mixture of both, right? We have students that are makeup artists, we have students that are in the beauty industry, period, whether it's hair, nails. And then we have students that truly want to solve a community problem. And so the entry point, honestly, at an institution like Coppin starts with us as faculty members and staff members having a conversation with our students and directing them to someone that can help really nurture their idea. So many of my students, we just start with a conversation in the classroom around business or marketing. I'm a marketing professor, so all of my classes are around marketing. But that, we go out and I have my students do hands-on like case studies with other small businesses, and that piques their interest into entrepreneurship. And then they spread the word across campus. So not all of the students, of course, that are looking to get assistance with starting a business are business students. Like you just said, you just had a science student that you talked to, and quantum AI, these type of students are coming like, hey, I have a technology idea that I want to start a business and I need help. And here we are. So our door is always open for any student and also any community member, because the work doesn't just sit at Coppin. One of the things that we are very proud of is how we reach the community members. And I think I've done a lot of work in the community for people to reach out and say, hey, I know you're the director of the Center for Strategic Entrepreneurship at Coppin. Can you help me? And of course, because we want our communities around us to thrive, from those that are living in our communities, those that are invested in our communities. And so it starts there. It starts with an interest, a skill, or passion, and we all figure it out together and help the students figure it out.
My personal journey, I went to UB to be a journalist, corporate communication. I was working at the newspaper. My dad thought I would get a gold watch and I'd never have to get another job again in my life. And in the late 80s, the Baltimore Sun, right? I mean, was 23 and owned the world at that point and had a degree, knew nothing about business. And the next thing I know, I left the paper and I started a radio show on an AM radio station, and I had to go sell advertising and I had to market. And those ads in the paper that we used to make fun of because we were the ones writing the words and the ads got in the way. The ads, I took a paycheck for years as a teenager into my 20s. I went upstairs, got my paycheck at the Sun, and I thought it's because I was a great writer and I had great journalism skills. Now it's because somebody sold advertising to Macy's and the car dealerships that did all the Sunday Sun to make the sports section 20. But I didn't understand any of that. And when I got into the radio business, it didn't serve me well not having a background in business or hiring or firing. And quite frankly, even 35 years into it, wouldn't say I'm a great marketer. I'm not a great business owner. I'm certainly not a great hirer or employer of people. I failed kind of at that part of it, but I didn't understand it. And I certainly didn't go to school for it and never thought it was available to me in that way, because we were all trying to get jobs with the man or a business or find an entity larger than us to bring us in. I don't think 18-year-old kids think that way anymore. I think they're never thinking about a job for life, a job for now, a job at all. And I remember when Deion Sanders, back 25 years ago when he was a player, I covered him here, but it was before that. It's when he was prime time. He said, I'm a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all a business. And I
Yeah.
think we find that out when we get fired from the government, if we had a government job, or if we leave a job, or we find ourselves out. Like, I wouldn't know how to get a job, Doc. I mean, I literally wouldn't even, now I could create a resume on AI. I wouldn't know monster.com or any of these places that I see advertised to go get a job. I know LinkedIn, but
Mm-hmm.
getting a job doesn't feel like I'm 57. I'll probably never get a job again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a businessman, Doc. But that part of it, I think young people come at it so differently in regard to, all right, I like to do nails and hair. I'm going to own a salon. I'm not going to go get a job. I need to learn how to
Mhm.
learn all of those parts of owning a business that I don't know that kids my age thought like that at all. And I think that's a huge benefit. And I think from a teaching perspective, from where you are, you can meet them where they are and they can go out and start that hustle tonight, today, right now.
No, that's a great point, and that's exactly what it is that we do. But the other side is teaching them about entrepreneurship, right? So I always tell my students, you're either going to be two things. You're going to be an entrepreneur or you're going to be an entrepreneur at some point in your life. And that entrepreneur is having that entrepreneurship mindset and those skills within inside of a company so that you're adding value, right? And eventually you may say, well, I've gained all of these skills and experience and even a network. And so now I want to be an entrepreneur. So I think we have students that are thinking just like that, like I'm a businessman or I am going to be part of a business and I'm going to add value and then I'll figure it out, after that, right? So where you and I were probably planning for year 10 and 20 when we were younger, our students are certainly not planning that long. They're thinking like, what's my 2-year plan or what's my 5-year plan at the most? But they do understand the value of their talent, as well as how they are actually thinking about things, right? So I tell them to challenge me all the time. Like, yes, I'm going to teach you all of the knowledge and expertise that I have, but you all have a different way of thinking that I want you to bring to the classroom and bring to the table so that we can kind of really figure out like how valuable are that thought process to you, your company or someone else's company. So you're absolutely right. And so embedding that entrepreneurship mindset helps someone really to understand the why that they're doing something, right? Like you said, if I work at McDonald's and my role is to drop the fries, when we were working at McDonald's, we weren't thinking about why dropping the fries was important at a certain time. But now
Or
it's
even how many
important,
you're selling or
or
what the
how many
markup
you're
is or what
selling,
the
right?
cost is, right? Literally, right.
So now we're teaching them that so that they understand if they're entering these bigger companies or they're entering their own business, that they can train people to understand the value as well. Because you're right, you're not going to be great at every aspect of business. Like I absolutely hate managing people. Like that is just not my thing that I enjoy doing. I know what you need to do, but I need to hire
I am
someone to
such
do
a give it to me, let me get it done, and it serves me
that.
well sometimes. But it's my biggest weakness. I mean,
Yep.
anyone that would evaluate me, including my AI clone, does that. Dr. Tamirra Lucas is here. She's with Coppin. Hey, Coppin, everybody's up in the basketball season here, trying to stay warm, get to spring here, do all that. She's the director for the Center for Strategic Entrepreneurship. Am I getting your title right? Is that
You
correct?
are.
All right, make sure
You
I'm getting
are.
that absolutely right over Coppin. I you got me thinking. I love doing these segments because I don't. People sometimes send me to like prep me for this, and I'm like, I don't have. I think of things when we're in the middle of this. I went out on my first sales calls as a 24-year-old kid with long hair in 1993, 94. I started this radio show and I had to sell ads into it. And the oldest sales guy in the radio station, a little AM station down on Light Street above the McDonald's at Light, really Light in Baltimore, right in the middle of the city. And he took me out in the car in West Baltimore down in Anne Arundel County. And he was very profane, but he was he was a man of God, but he cursed. And he was a man who had drank too much, but cleaned his life up. He was a wonderful guy. He was a real death of a salesman kind of guy, like Glengarry Glen Ross, old school, silver haired, briefcase, 1970s kind of salesman. And he said something to me that I take all these years later, and I'll clean it up for you because we're doing this for college. But he said, "Are you an order taker or are you an order creator?" And an order taker in my business was when you were at BAL, one of the big stations, you sit there and the phone would ring and you'd say, "Yes, I'd love to take your money. Yes, I'd love to take your money. Yes, I'd love to take your money for the Orioles advertising." When you're a little AM radio station and you're out creating something as I created 35 years ago, if I sat there and stared at the phone, it would never ring. So I had to make the phone ring. I had to create things. And I think that's what you're talking about in regard to the people I employed thought like employees primarily. And if they didn't, they weren't going to be with me long anyway, because they were going to learn what they learned from me and go compete with me.
Yep.
And I see Bashadi taught me that 25 years ago, that is, part and parcel of business as well. you might know a little bit, but I sort of my competitors created by me. Most of the people that work for me now work for a big FM at Odyssey and they get paid by the man and like all that. That's the way their minds worked when they came and worked for me is they wanted to work for a big guy in a job. They didn't want to be a creator. They wanted to be an order taker. And I think that that's we've moved past that. I think if I met a bunch of young people now, they would all want to work for me for 5 minutes, learn everything, and go compete with me. And I think
Absolutely.
that's a little bit scary under that because, to your point, even if it's let's say nail salon or hair, whatever the thing is, I'm going to learn this. Maybe I'll go work at that shop for a minute, but I'm going to drop those fries and figure out how to open my own sub shop.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly how they're thinking, if they're even thinking that far, because most of them just want to go out and try it and do it on their own, which is great because I was not willing to take that risk when I was 18 and
Well, you might
19.
fail.
Well,
We all might
yeah.
fail, right? We're afraid of failing, right?
Yep. And that's the shift in the entrepreneur mindset, right? Fixed growth versus you know, actually um actually understanding the mindset of like what does it look like to be an entrepreneur. You have to take risks and you have to be willing to say to fail, and understanding that failure is not, it's not the end of the world.
It's
Like
also not 9 to 5 and you're not getting paid by the hour and there's no card to punch and you're shooting free throws in the dark and nobody's watching,
they
like literally.
absolutely love freedom. Okay. If it's nothing else these students want is freedom. And I'm not mad at them about wanting freedom of their time when they can go ahead and design what their future look like. And I think that's the key, is that they have the flexibility to truly design their future where we really didn't have that flexibility before. And so that's the unique approach. Now, it is a hindrance to our workforce a lot because everyone wants to be an entrepreneur and we do
I
need
can't
those.
find anybody to work for me, right? Literally.
Exactly. Yep. So we're trying to solve both problems here in the center, like create jobs as well as fill the workforce as well.
Tell me about this Cube co-work. Like, hold on, the largest Black women-owned co-working space in the United States that provides babysitting services. And the best part is, it's like right around the corner from Coco's. And tell me a little bit about this because as an entrepreneur myself, tell me about your hustle. I want to learn about
Yeah,
this.
so 10 years ago, 10, well, this is our 10th year, we launched the Cube Cowork to really solve the problem for childcare for parents who were trying to grow their careers and or their businesses. So we have office space, podcast room, our babysitting area, meeting rooms, and an event space is around 15,000 square feet. And so you all definitely need to check it out because we also do a lot of programming around entrepreneurship as well, and investing in local entrepreneurs, specifically a lot of women entrepreneurs.
Sounds exactly like what I'm going to be doing all next week at a cup of Super Bowl, sitting around telling great community stories. And you've kicked it off, Doc. This is perfect, man. You're the kickoff to a cup of Super. Now you're a Baltimore girl, right? You went to
I'm a
Coppin,
real
right?
Baltimore girl.
What did you go to school for?
I went to school for management science, which is essentially a business degree. So I have 3 business degrees.
I can tell this from spending a little bit. You enjoy being. I mean, you're on campus right now. Snow came, snow fell. Kids are back. What do you love about modern education and being in the role that you're in at this point? Because I think seeing young people thrive and having them come through. I know it's as I've gotten older, I do take great pride in the fact that I created my competition. I
Mhm.
like to see people that I've done well thrive, but in a place like you're churning through lots of people in that role that 5 or 10 years from now, you'll look back and you'll be walking the streets of the city and somebody will say, hey, you helped me. I think that that's kind of the neat part.
That is exactly what I love most about it. I love that the students come into this place and we truly provide a foundation for their future. And just seeing them thrive, like I get excited. I don't complain about coming to campus as long as it's safe from a snow standpoint. I'm gonna come because I love interacting with my students. They bring a lot of life to me. They keep me young, which is why they think I'm a student sometimes. But I've been around for a while. And just being in an institution that truly provided me opportunity. I graduated from Coppin State University, and I always say Coppin saved my life. Um, because it wasn't my first stop as an undergraduate student, but it was certainly the place that truly fostered me. And so if I can do the same that my professors did for me for my students, I feel great every single day. And it does happen. I've been at Coppin for 11 years. So I see students all the time like, you helped me. You've done this. And still call. They still ask for help. They still show up if I need them. And I love everything about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dr. Jenkins always brings me over, and I always feel the energy. And anytime I have any of you on or I visit over there, there really is some spirit about it. I even saw one of my former guests that in the middle of the snowstorm, they sent food in, and I keep thinking, lots of kids live there, right? Like, so
Yep.
when you say you go to work, you're going to work, and you know there are going to be people around there because it's not really a commuter school the way maybe it once was years ago,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So they're here.
Well, you've seen all
And
the changes though, right? Like when you come onto campus from what you saw, I know I feel that way. Look, I covered Fang Mitchell 30 years ago over there, and I used to come over to campus and talk to Fang before there was the center, before any of that was there.
Mhm.
And it really has been, it's a great Baltimore growth story that I think we've all witnessed that we should talk more about. Coppin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, keeping the young people educated over there. She is the director for the Center of Strategic Entrepreneurship. She taught me some stuff here as well about the hustle and the cube over on the east side of town. Now I'm going to see that little building when I go by there over by Zeke's Coffee on my way to Coco's next week. Thanks for your time, and I hope we get to say hello, have you back on. And please tell me more about the cube when we get over to Coco's next week. Maybe you send somebody over. We'll talk more about that. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got you.
I love that. I appreciate that. Our friends at Coppin for supporting us the way we've supported them as the flagship for Coppin Sports here for the last decade and a half. We now make the conversations a little bit more meaningful, and I appreciate the doc for stopping by and talking about me being a businessman and everybody out there being a hustler at this point. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. More ahead, Luke's and Owings Mills. We're just days away from spring training and the spring fall. Stay with us. We're Baltimore Positive.